Sit next to me, nobody will see you.
Oh, okay. You weren't working for a second. We're working? All right, Wally, try that again.
Wally World, what?
Retake.
Welcome to the May 20th, 2024 Village Board meeting. Could you please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's two people on this, I'm assuming it's me here.
Oh, all right, Brian and John.
Who's on the phone?
Yep, it's Brian and John.
There we go.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you.
You're gonna leave us wondering who is there. All right.
We announced early, I don't know.
Ah, yeah, nobody heard that, so.
You were late, so.
Oh, all right.
Yes, and we're late. All right, so did everybody have a chance to read the minutes?
Yes.
Can I get a motion for the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so now, being the very end of our 23-24 budget, we have some modifications that need to be made where some of our lines we were a little short on, so we are looking to move funding in two different accounts, one being the water fund, one being the general fund. On your first page is the water fund. You'll see that we are taking some funds out of the source of supply and the contractual water administration, and then distributing it to the lines above that we are slightly short in or coming close, and so we want to make sure that we are not short. Does anybody have any questions regarding those?
This is just like a technicality, correct?
Yes.
We just have to.
No,
So there's no overall change
Right.
to the budget, it's just basically one line is short, one line
Right.
has,
A surplus.
moving it between those lines, we're not changing the budget at all.
Okay.
So then the second page is the general fund, where you'll see we have, on the bottom, we have two line items that have a surplus, and then we have all of these lines that were either short or very close, so we're moving funds to make sure that we have enough to cover us until May 31st, which will be the last day of this budget. So, did I cover everything, Eliza, or is there anything I should be saying otherwise?
That's good.
That covers it?
Just paying, just ones that are over, paying the ones that were gonna
Okay.
either went over a little bit or going to be over.
Okay. And you'll see that in your monthly reports also that Eliza sends to
Yes.
us,
Okay.
where you can track as things are getting
Right, then.
Yes.
Right.
getting
Start-
thinner and
Right.
thinner, and she
Yeah.
uses
I
highlighters.
started
and-
highlighting the close ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you will be able to track that on a monthly basis.
Right.
This is just end of year.
Yeah, right.
Where we have to do a lot of little movements to it. So,
Okay.
does anybody have any questions regarding this?
We covered it.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the budget modifications as presented?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So then the next item is interfund loans, which basically for some of this, and you'll see where it says Umshidewell, Lower Baxter. So when those projects first started, the EFC funding doesn't kick in right away, so the village ends up having to front some of the expenses in the very beginning. And so then once we have the EFC funding, then we have to pay back the
Mhm.
funds where we borrowed. So that's what this is paying back, our general fund and our water funds from the borrowing that we did for the project.
Yes.
Okay.
Did I make that clear?
Yes.
Okay. So this is cleaning up some stuff that was a little bit older. Moving forward, it will get cleaned up
Okay.
at a more reasonable time frame.
So this funding came in this year?
It's,
The, Lower Baxter came in September.
Right.
And now we want to see kind of where we are at. We have enough money to pay back the water and the general, so we're gonna go ahead and do that, cause you wanna clean them up before the fiscal year ends.
Okay.
and then some of it will get cleaned up also when you close out a project. So like for Umshide, we'll be closing that out soon, once
Yeah.
once we're sure that we're not gonna be getting any more.
Change orders?
Yeah, so. Does anybody have any other questions regarding this?
No?
Alright, so I'll make a motion to approve the interfund loan repayments. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Eliza, for all that hard work. That was a little bit of work,
Yeah.
figuring all that stuff
It
out.
was a fun little puzzle.
Yeah. Not sure I'd call it that, but we'll go with that. So then this, you'll see, is, the next item, Municipal Solutions, proposal and helping us with the trunk line project. So we approved it because it is a sewer commission project and we approved it at the sewer commission. However, since the sewer commission cannot borrow funds, the EFC funding is going through the village. So I'm not sure how necessary this is, but I felt that we should approve it also at the village since Jeff Smith will be working with the village with
Right.
EFC funding, so I thought it would best, once the sewer commission decided this was a good thing to do, I just wanted to cover ourselves and also approve it at the village level as well. Does anybody have any questions regarding that?
No?
No?
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve Municipal Solutions proposal?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Alright, so the next items are new policies. We've been getting some requests and I just determined that we didn't really have a policy for these things and I thought it was best to start a policy. So, so there's one for honorary street signs and one for memorial benches. And I know it was sent to you kind of last minute, so I don't know if you've had a chance to review this. I had Joe review it as well. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, thoughts?
Just a couple of them. The length of time, the 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I think it's a little too long.
Okay.
I could maybe cut it down to 3.
So, what I did in developing this was I tried to glean from other municipalities.
Is that typical, 5 years?
It kind of
Does
was,
it vary?
it varied, so,
I was thinking
I
it'd
took
be
a
yearly
stab
thing,
at
really.
it, so, so nothing, I don't feel like any of this can't be changed,
Okay.
any of it can be changed, so, all right, so you think 5 years is too long, 3? Do we want to entertain 3?
I think 3.
3? Okay. So,
I don't know, how do you
5
feel,
to
Steve?
3 years.
I don't necessarily have a problem with the length of time. What I would say is, I think that we should come up with some kind of fee structure for the village labor that's gonna go into this in terms of highway department hanging the sign, so we can do,
Okay.
not that we're trying to make a ton of money,
No,
but
but
let's
cover
just
our
cover
expenses.
ourselves.
The taxpayer
Yeah.
shouldn't have to pay for that.
Okay.
you could use language for that along the lines of that the fee shall be the actual cost of materials,
And labor.
labor and installation, because I would think that in certain instances, like sometimes it'll just be, you gotta buy the sign and you bolt it to an existing pole, right?
Right.
Other times it might be that you gotta also install a pole.
Right,
Or,
it could be very
or,
expensive, sure.
right, or you might need a piece of equipment that the village doesn't
Mhm.
own on its own. So you're right, I mean, obviously, you're not trying to make money, it wouldn't be a profit thing, but if somebody wants the honorary sign, and I'm not suggesting, like, you could make the decision that it's just something you wanna do as an amenity of the village, I'm just saying that's a way to handle that.
So like, for instance, we have it in there that it is the actual cost of the signs that the nominator has to pay for
Right.
those signs.
You could expand
And that
that.
varies, over the years, so
Right.
that's why we're saying actual cost.
Right.
So now what you're saying is to add,
Installation and labor.
okay,
And the actual cost language will make it clear, should make it clear to people that it's not like a gratuitous fee. It's
Right.
literally a reimbursement of
Right.
what it's gonna cost taxpayers to pay.
To pay.
right, right, okay.
I think something else we have to look into is also legal height. Isn't there legal height with stuff like that? How tall it has to be from the ground?
Okay. I don't know,
I think there is a legal height.
because
if I
some
remember
locations
correctly.
might be trickier than
Right,
others.
they could be lower.
Some
Maybe they might
locations
have
might
low
have
signs.
Yeah,
multiple,
I think there is a legal height though that signs have to be.
uh-huh, okay. So we'll look into that. What about the extension? What do
That's-
people
yeah,
feel
that's the one I
about,
feel like bring up.
so we're toying with the idea of either 5 years or 3 years, but then I had put in there to allow for another 5-year extension. I'm of course just gleaning ideas from other municipalities and kind of,
Right. I don't know if we should allow an extension. I mean, the likelihood that someone's gonna wanna name a street, two people on the same street, very slim, but if we're only gonna charge like $25 to extend it, I mean, someone's just gonna, $25, I don't know if
Well,
that's.
it's
Well, it can only
Per
be, it
sign.
can only happen once, right?
Well,
One
that's what was-
extension.
one extension.
Oh, there's only one
So
extension,
other
okay.
municipalities did offer ongoing
Continue.
Oh, ongoing.
extensions, so I limited it to one
To
extension.
one, okay, and that's
But,
nice.
not to say that we have to entertain that at all. And then the extension was $25 per sign.
Per sign, right.
Not just a one
So if you have two up,
$25.
it's.
So if you
Right,
have,
$50,
yeah,
right.
depending on how many signs,
Well,
how
if we cut it down to
lengthy.
3, I'm not really opposed to that then, because
So
in
what-
6 years.
So
and
we
then-
went a
You know,
3-year term with the possibility
Could
of
do
a
another-
3-year
Another
extension.
3 years, and then that's it.
I don't have a problem with that. I think if somebody's gonna go through, the process
Yeah,
and pay for the
money
material,
and
pay the
for the-
labor,
Sure,
let them
I think
extend
that's
it.
fair.
Okay. And then Joe, you had,
Yeah, I suggested that at the end of the very first paragraph,
which, on the
on both.
honorary sign or on both?
On both, actually.
Okay,
That they're, like, before you get into the numbered list, that you add a sentence that says, nothing herein shall be construed to require the village to approve such a memorial, or whatever the words are, whatever the.
The
is that
honorary,
the song?
well, one is
Honorary.
honorary, one's memorial.
Right, right.
so.
But I just think you need to make it clear that you have the discretion. It
Right,
could be
so,
safety
yeah,
issues, it
right.
could be line of sight issues, it could be that someone else has made an application for the same road. I mean, all these
Right,
things,
right,
like,
right,
you don't wanna make it sound like, hey, if I come in with a check,
You're right, you're gonna get.
You gotta
these
name the bench.
qualifications.
Well, there would have to be some kind of vetting, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's why I think you need to make clear.
but at least putting this
You still have the
language into
discretion,
it
yeah,
lets
yeah,
people
right.
know that there's that
Yeah.
Right.
process.
And now, if I saw that there was 3 per year, 3 honorary designators
It was-
per year.
That was another one that I grabbed from another municipality, so you're not like overwhelmed with a
Right.
bunch of them,
Yeah, you
if
don't wanna
we-
do 15 in the first year, but,
Right.
how would that work after the 3 have been decided upon? Would we start like a wait list, or would we take?
Yeah,
for
they
the
would
next
have to,
year?
they would have to be for the next year.
Okay.
that's how I
So
would
you
see
can kind
it.
of reserve your spot for next year?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would see it that way.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Or just
That
say
way
that they
it's not
have to
crazy.
apply in the next year and not necessary, but, yeah, I would think
We'll
we
see how
could
many we
reserve,
get.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We don't know what that's gonna be like, so. Any other, thoughts? Again, you know, this is just me doing research
No, I
and,
think you did a great job.
looking into what other municipalities have done, just to see. So, I liked where we said that if it's damaged, destroyed, or disappears, that it is the nominator
Right.
that replaces it, because it shouldn't be at the taxpayer's expense.
Expense, right.
Correct, yeah.
I also like that if at the end of, well, it was 5, so now we're talking 3 years, that the nominator's not reachable, we will remove the signs at the
Okay.
3-year mark.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Making it clear that an honorary street sign is installed, but the original street sign and your postal addresses on that street still remain.
Right.
So that's not changing any
We're
of that.
not using it as an alternate address.
Right, right. All right, well, this is first blush. You know, I would say what we can do is redo this a little and have it on the next agenda for approval
I
at
think
that
so.
point.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
think
think
so.
that's-
I think you covered everything.
All right, so that's the
Definitely
honorary
more
street
than
sign
that.
one. How about memorial bench one? This one I didn't feel is as tricky, I guess I would say. So some municipalities did have where a bench could have 2 people, and I wasn't keen on
Yeah, I
that
don't
idea,
like
so
that
I didn't
idea.
put that in here. I didn't have a timeline on this. We have some current ones out there that have been out there for quite a few years. I did put in here that I think that the plaque, we would wanna review what the plaque would look like, so that it does fall within what we have already.
Yeah, do we have on the benches, is there a spot for the plaque, dimension wise,
It's-
that they know?
No, it's
No.
just a regular bench
Okay,
that's been
alright.
screwed onto, you know, the
Okay.
plaque's been screwed onto the bench. I mean, maybe at some point when we replace benches, we might wanna consider
Do
that
okay.
or something, but.
I'll have to look at one.
So I did
different
give the
plaque.
option, you know, I asked that the person identify what bench, but if they were looking for a bench to be, and this is all on just village property, so if they wanted to locate a bench somewhere else, a new bench at their cost,
Mhm.
we can entertain that,
Okay,
that's, you know.
right.
So we would add Joe's sentence again to this policy. Did you have any concerns regarding the memorial bench one?
No.
Now this one, there's, right now, currently in this draft form, there's no cost here. So do we want to look into, again, you know, the
Yeah, someone's
time
gonna have to install
of,
it,
you know,
right?
our highway crew having to install
Sure.
these?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, we're only talking 1 plaque per bench, so it's
Right.
not a lot.
Yeah, it's not gonna be a lot.
I think if you use the same sentence we used in the other, you'd probably be covered. In the case where somebody's putting a plaque on a bench that already exists, it probably is just the cost of the plaque, that's easy.
Right.
But if somebody wanted to put a new bench somewhere,
Yeah.
Which
Then
I
you're
had
talking
said
about
there,
something
at
totally
their
different.
cost,
Right.
but we would have to locate, you know, we'd have to check
Yeah.
about the location, whether we felt that that was
Yeah.
a good location for a bench.
yeah.
Would we be purchasing it and then be reimbursed, or would the person?
That's a good question.
Because I think
Because we
we
would like
should
the
probably-
benches
Yeah, right, it's gotta
to,
be-
yes.
yeah, it's gotta
we
be
should probably
something.
purchase the plaque and or we should probably order the plaque and the
Yes,
bench.
and they, once we
keep
know the
uniform.
cost, well, we would reach out, what I would like to do is, we would reach out for the cost factor and let the person know what the cost factor is, and we
Mhm.
don't order anything until they
Until
Yeah,
pay
of course,
that.
I think that's fine, yeah.
Yeah,
Alright, so.
But just in terms of, you know the quality we're gonna get.
Yeah.
Every plaque will
Right.
be the same in terms of, you know,
Okay, so we would
but yeah, I think we
purchase,
should make the order.
village purchases plaque. So then, basically, I would be changing the wording to have them provide us the wording that they want on the plaque. Okay. Okay.
This is gonna get a little tricky. If they buy a bench and everything, how are you gonna make it only 3 years?
It would.
No, this isn't 3 years.
Oh, this is for
This
permanent?
is,
Yeah, and to that end, you
Oh,
might
this is
wanna,
permanent?
you might
This
wanna
is-
add a
get real
line
tricky then.
in this one that makes clear that once it's installed, it's village property. Cause
Okay.
you're gonna, it really
Right.
becomes a village amenity, you're installing it on village property.
Right.
You don't wanna give people the idea that if
so that's
they
a
feel
new
like
bench
they-
you mean?
Yeah.
The new bench
Right.
is being installed.
Exactly, right, they can't come get their bench
Yeah, if
one
I
day.
move, I can't get my bench.
Right, right.
Yeah, it's not like the honorary sign where they
Right,
can
right.
take them home
Right.
with them.
And it's a nice thing, it does become a village amenity, but they need to be clear that it's a village amenity, that
Right.
that's what they're doing.
I just see this
I know,
becoming a
ti-
thing,
yeah,
like over time,
time-wise, yeah, I see
as
this, yeah.
benches, you know,
Exactly,
start to
break, and someone
yeah,
buys a
start to
bench,
wear down.
and it breaks, and, you know, something happens, kids, and it breaks, what happens
Can we
in that
put
case?
language
Well-
saying it's as good as the life of the bench?
Well, the
We're not
plaque
gonna
is
repair
a
it?
metal plaque,
can.
so I would think if the bench rotted or got broken or whatever, we could replace the bench. But the plaque should be able to be removed from the old one and put onto the one that we replaced it with. Or not,
I think
or the life of
you're
the
giving a
bench.
lifetime
Well, the problem
thing
is,
here,
okay,
though.
so now I want a plaque on that bench right out there.
Right.
And it's already through half, 3/4 of its life.
Right,
Yeah. But you're not buying the bench, you're just buying the plaque.
That's
right,
true.
someone
But
buying
I
a
get
bench.
shortchanged. Your plaque's been on there for, 25 years. Mine gets
So
two.
I think it's gotta be a time thing.
All right.
Well, then what would happen even if you put a time thing on it, what would happen at the end of that time period? You'd go take the plaque off and.
Well, just like the street signs, give it to the person that
Yeah.
planted it.
I know our existing ones have been there for quite some time.
What's gonna happen if you have a ton of people that want these things?
We only have so many benches and only so many locations to put a bench. I don't know.
I would assume the plaques are also gonna be much more expensive than street
I
signs.
know there was a couple benches on the walks there.
You don't think so?
No.
They're actually not that expensive.
They're like an award plaque kind
It's
of
like a
thing.
little tiny bronze plaque.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all it is?
The ones
Yeah,
that
it
we
goes
have.
Oh,
on
it's
the
like a
back.
little, just on the one slat?
Yep.
Oh, I'm thinking it's like a square
I thought
thing.
so
No, the
too,
ones
I
that
was
are out
picturing
there.
something with,
No, no,
words,
it's-
dedication or
yeah.
something.
Oh, so it's just like a little thin metal?
Yeah.
I take back my comment.
Okay.
It's not
All
that
right, so
bad.
maybe
You
the
take
life
back
of the
what
bench.
comment? Which one?
That the plaque will be more expensive than.
bench.
Yeah, I think it's a lot
And
less
maybe in
expensive.
the life of the bench, I don't know.
Well, remember too, if you have the sentence in there about the right to
Right, once
turn
it's
down
installed,
applications,
yeah.
what you're gonna end up with the benches is either people putting memorial plaques on existing benches, which does you no harm, right? Or they're gonna wanna put new benches on publicly owned space, which is a village amenity.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad thing.
Right, and then
Yeah.
if you get to the point where it's like there's so many benches that there's no room for
Well,
kids
then
to
we
play, then you can
revise
start
the
to say no.
policy. Yeah,
Well,
or
then you can
say
start to
no.
say no, I mean, that's what
Right.
that sentence is about, you know?
Okay. All right.
Again, this is draft, it's
Yeah.
new, so I'm just gonna then, we've had some good discussion, I'm gonna say that this goes on to our next agenda for hopefully finalizing and approving the 2 policies.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Okay.
that sounds fair.
Okay. All right. Anything else that either of you guys have before we move on to, old business?
We're good.
All right. So old business engineers report, John and Brian, do you have anything for us?
I can just give a short and sweet update of what we're working on so far.
Okay.
And then if anybody has any questions, just fire them off afterwards. So lead service line inventory, a little over a week ago, we got Labella's mapping, so we're just finalizing review of that, where they categorized by the year built for each structure to place into the spreadsheet. So we do have the map that we're reviewing the records on. And then it's just going to be the village continuing historical records research here to to continue for the log that's due October 14th. So that's where that stands. I&I study on the wastewater end. I believe Brian's coming up Thursday to set flow meter with Justin. So that we can continue and monitor. Flushing water mains. Gloria, I know I gotta send over the item Labella put together there for the flushing, and then we can get the scheduling put together by area. I know I sent the draft letter.
Yeah, I think,
to get
Rich,
that moving along.
I think Rich and I wanna have a phone call with you, Jonathan.
Okay,
All right.
I can give you a call tomorrow. I was out in the field all day today,
Yep.
so I'll give you a call tomorrow morning and whatever's convenient for you and Rich.
Okay.
Pauling Commons, I'm currently reviewing their plans and just looking up the municipal connection options over there, and I did send one option over to Rich, so I'll touch base with him too, I guess, after Flushing, just make sure we're on the same page here for the municipal connection before that moves forward.
Okay.
And then the only other one is Reservoir Road sewer repairs that will happen. Work will happen after school's out, and then I don't know if I missed anything else, Brian. No, I think that's everything. So,
Okay.
I think that's it.
Anybody have any questions for them?
No.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, Joe, do you have anything?
The only thing I have is something that I brought up at the sewer commission meeting as well, and I just, for the benefit, this board was here, but for the benefit of the public too. We continue to have some outstanding business that we need to check the boxes on with the town of Pauling, and that is their officially appointed representatives to the commission. There's a sewer district legalizing or normalizing, I guess would be the softest way to say it, a sewer district, what is it, Cedar Valley?
Cedar Valley.
Cedar Valley,
Yeah.
I always want to say Cedarwood. Cedar
Right.
Valley. And also, to my knowledge, and again, if my knowledge is outdated, maybe the town board has addressed this, they have not yet approved their portion of the budget, which, as I said in that meeting, and the town supervisor was here for that, in my view, as your counsel and as counsel to the sewer commission, I don't think those things are discretionary. It just, the IMA requires that they be done. At that meeting, and I joined that by phone, but I think I'm right about this. I think that Jim said he would follow up on that the supervisor said he would follow up on that.
Mhm.
So, I haven't heard yet. I would only hear if Nancy got in touch with me, their counsel. It's possible they'll choose some other way to contact this
So you haven't
board.
been,
But
Nancy has not
I have
reached
not
out
heard
to you.
anything since. So I just think it's something to continue to track because I think it does obviously impact the operation of the sewer commission,
okay.
which our credit is on the line for.
Anything else?
That's what I have.
Anybody have any questions for Joe?
No.
All right, at this time, we'll turn things over to public comment, but seeing there's no public, I don't think we need to do that.
Since Eliza came up here.
That's right.
Okay. It's a nice night out there.
So, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And yes, thank you, Eliza.
No problem.
Thank you, Eliza.
A lot of good work that she did, detective work too.
That's-
Thank God somebody wants to do that work.
Yeah.